The automotive manufacturing industry is one of the largest backbones for economic growth across Asia. The rise of Japan paved the way for motor companies such as Toyota, Nissan, and Mitsubishi. This was followed by South Korea's rise, which paved the way for companies like Hyundai and Kia. Then soon, China would follow with companies like BYD, Great Wall Motors, and a long list of other names. India too has its own company known as Tata Motors. Within Southeast Asia, we have seen the rise in both foreign investments and local companies. In Vietnam, the company now has its own electric vehicle brand known as VinFast. Malaysia has long had their own brand known as Proton and Produa. Whilst Indonesia and Thailand do not have any major car brands, they are home to some of the biggest automotive manufacturing facilities. From Toyota Motors to Ford Motors have invested billions and billions of dollars into these countries to construct their own manufacturing facility. Out of all these, one country stood out: the Philippines. The archipelago country is the sole country of all these major Asian economies that still does not have a car brand of its own, or even a major auto manufacturing facility. A lot of their cars are mostly imported overseas, like from Thailand. The effects, of course, result in a poor trade balance. In basic economics, international trade happens when a country exports and imports from another country. The Philippines, in this case, imports from, say, Thailand. Doing so, they would pay in a foreign currency, usually denoted in US dollars. When they do this, the US dollars that they hold in their own foreign reserves account goes down. It can be bad when the Philippines' foreign reserves goes down. That is because it also has to pay for other things. Like, they have to pay their foreign debt obligations to, say, China and Japan. They also have to import food. This is why the Philippines and any other country should always try to limit excess importation. But the Philippines, due to unfortunate circumstances, has one of the world's largest trade deficits. In 2023, the Philippines incurred a trade deficit of over 52.4 billion US dollars. The Philippines exported a mere 73 billion, but imported over 125 billion. The only reason why the Philippines is not in a crisis is because of its service exports, such as its business process outsourcing industry, BPO, and overseas Filipino worker remittances, OFW. Had it not been for these, the Philippines would be in a terrible shape. But then again, why has this been the case? Why does the Philippines not have an auto manufacturing industry? Well, let's first look at the local company landscape first. The Philippines actually had one. It was known as Sarayo Motors. Sarayo Motors was the famous jeepney brand that manufactured and sold hundreds of thousands of jeepneys across the country. At its peak, Sarayo Motors produced 8 to 12 units daily, with some reports claiming up to 20 units and employing 400 workers. But what happened to the company? Well, back in 1997, there was a big crisis. It was called the 1997 Asian financial crisis, which caused the peso to fall. This doubled the cost of imported secondhand parts from Japan. This led to financial difficulties as jeepneys became more expensive to operate and repair due to the lack of standardized parts. Furthermore, the government decided to stop issuing new franchises for jeepney drivers in the late 1990s, which significantly reduced demand for new jeepneys. By October of 2000, Sarayo Motors halted production and laid off about 250 workers. Edgardo Sarayo cited high production costs, low sales, and rising wages as reasons for the closure in an interview with the Philippine Daily Inquirer. Due to the strong demand for jeepneys, they continued the business. While operations were downsized, they were still producing units, albeit at a slower pace. Today, Sarayo Motors still operates with about 50 employees. Moreover, in 2018, they introduced an electric jeepney prototype, the GP Sarayo. Besides Sarayo Motors, the Philippines also had a local company called Francisco Motors Corporation. They recently offered to sell electric jeepneys and were developing a car called the Harabas and the Anfra. On top of these two, there is also the Almazora Motors Corporation, a truck and bus body manufacturer. While there is evidence that the Philippines have had a local car brand, it's still nowhere near what other countries have gotten. Even Vietnam's VinFast, its own local car brand, is now amongst the world's most valuable car companies. As of the time of writing, VinFast is valued at $9.18 billion, making it the 35th most valuable company in the entire world, surpassing even Japan's Mazda brand and Sweden's Volvo cars. Local companies in the Philippines are nowhere near $1 billion in valuation, neither will it be possible in the future that a car company may become one. Before we answer why this is the case, let's first take a look at the foreign investment landscape. The Philippines is actually home to a few car manufacturing facilities. The American automotive giant Ford Motors had a long history in the country. They opened up local automotive assembly plants dating back to 1968. Over time, they would shut their plants, but eventually reopen them back again. In 2012, however, they would totally shut down their local plant. Why they did this was because the Philippines Ford plant was small by global standards, with 250 employees producing 3,500 vehicles annually. Ford typically operates at a scale of 300,000 units per plant, and their plants in China, India, and Thailand have this capacity, which isn't practical in the Philippines. From a business perspective, expanding a larger facility was more practical than maintaining a smaller one. Additionally, obtaining parts was easier near larger facilities. Thus, after a month, they announced the closure of their Santa Rosa plant in the Philippines. Ford celebrated opening a new $450 million facility in Rayong, Thailand, expecting to produce 150,000 units annually. Then, in 2020, Honda Motors would follow. Honda Motors announced the closure of their assembly plant due to the production volume. Their Santa Rosa plant produced 8,000 units annually with 380 workers. The plant's low production volume compared to 250,000 units in the UK made it unsustainable. In 2021, Nissan Motors too closed their plant. The closure led to the end of its Almera model, which sold an average of 4,500 units annually. The Almera, now not a locally assembled car, is imported from Japan and Thailand. The shutdown caused the loss of 133 workers. Right now, there is only an ample number of auto manufacturing facilities in the Philippines, mostly assembly plants. One of them is the Mitsubishi Motors Philippines, which has a 23-hectare manufacturing hub in Laguna, with capabilities to produce 50,000 units per year. The other is Toyota Motors Philippines, which has a long history in the country. They have a big facility located inside the 82-hectare Toyota Special Economic Zone, and its existing manufacturing plant has the capacity to produce over 55,000 units per year as of the end of 2021. While these two still have a big presence in the country, they are nowhere near the size of Thailand and Indonesia. Moreover, a lot of the plants, especially in Thailand, are even for export purposes, meaning a number of cars manufactured in Thailand will be sold to other Asian countries. In the Philippines, most of their cars are only for sale for local Filipino buyers. This does not help the Philippines' trade balance. So, why has the Philippines failed to have its own auto manufacturing industry? Well, let's take a look at a few government policies. There's one known as the Comprehensive Automotive Resurgency Strategy (CARS) program introduced in 2015. CARS sought to attract new investments, stimulate demand, and implement industry regulations to position the Philippines as a regional automotive manufacturing hub. Fiscal support for the program began in 2016 with a total budget of P27 billion pesos. But what happened to the program? Some today praise the outcome. In 2022, the two companies participated in the Mitsubishi Motors Philippines and Toyota Motor Philippines will produce 207,165 units combined. But was it really praiseworthy? Sure, the government said that this saved the country 1.01 billion in forex and created nearly 110,000 jobs. But it's still not enough. If you were paying attention, this program was introduced in 2015, but Nissan and Honda closed their plants in 2020 and 2021. This policy was not enough. But anyway, do let us know what you think down in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.